And we are live.
Oh, there we go. We're back at it again. Another episode of the Foxhole. This one's going to get pretty fun, I think.
Yes, this is a two-guest episode. One of its kind.
We're just the hosts.
Yes. The struggle with being, I guess, the struggle of not being able to make any friends is that finding guests is very difficult.
It's either we find new guests, which is impossible, or just keep recycling people, and then we're early Joe Rogan, and that's kind of lame.
Yeah, we can't do that.
I mean, he's big, but whatever.
Yeah, we don't want to follow those tracks. Yeah. The last episode we posted, we had said that in the end, anyone who had listened to that point got to pick this episode's subject, and that's exactly what happened. Someone in the comments had suggested we talk about cults and or serial killers, so we're going to do just that and talk about both cults and serial killers.
And I think that one works really well, actually, because Jarvis has a wide basis of knowledge already on cults, and then I have a wide basis of knowledge on serial killers. So this is going to go pretty well. Whatever that says about us, I'm not sure, but...
And I think it's because I started a cult, and Blake is a serial killer.
Oh,
so,
you did start a cult. King Carton, that was the thing.
We're going to invade a South American nation, the nation of Suriname. For anyone, I guess...
In Minecraft.
Listening, it's a representation of Suriname in a game. I wasn't going to invade, okay?
So we joke, but there was like a Russian teen who had plans to blow up some Russian building in Minecraft, like literally in Minecraft, and he got arrested for it.
Damn.
So we can't say in Minecraft anymore.
Oh, okay. So in real life, I was actually going to invade Suriname.
I think we should just go back to saying hypothetically.
Hypothetically,
bring it back. It's like what's his name? O.J. Simpson. He had that book. Like, if I were to do it,
if I was gonna do that, you get so much free time in the military that I came up with plans to overthrow a nation, conquer it, become the king, and try to gain as many followers as possible. I amassed a good following, maybe 70 to 100 people who said they were down. Now. The statistics of the people who are actually going to be there when I go bring my boats from Puerto Rico to Suriname to take over the capital of Paramaribo.
He knows the capital even, so he's serious.
Yes.
Allegedly.
3 cities, major city. They're all on the coast, 80% uninhabited. Major exports are gold and corn. Mm-hmm. The 8 successful military coups in the past 70 years. Only one news network. It would have been too easy.
Oh, yeah. I think the longest continuous conversation Jarvis and I had was we spent 12 hours, two tower guard shifts, talking about the rapture and how we would both set up our own factions and levels of government in different areas of the world, and then communicate with each other and share resources.
Yeah, someone has to thrive when the world ends.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not like we're all going to just be worthless. But y'all might be, not us.
No, we'll be kings in the rapture. That's the plan.
But yeah, we were going to take over. I was going to be king. It was going to be an oligarchy. Of course.
Oh yeah, we talked about that. I think I was taking like the Scandinavian countries, and then you were taking. I don't remember. It was like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. We talked about this.
Dang, time flies when you're planning to overthrow stuff.
But anyway, back to serial killers and cultists.
Yes.
I know I have one serial killer that I'm going to dive a little deeper into than others, and I don't know what you're doing. But
so I've got 2 specific cults. So I'll do cult, serial killer, cult.
And then just kind of take it from there.
From there.
Yeah. And again, this is not a super well-researched podcast. We kind of look things up, and then we just talk. We liked... I think it's kind of unspoken, but now we're speaking it, is that this podcast is just like people bullshitting. These are your living room conversations that you get to listen to. So if you're like super lonely and you don't have friends or family, these are the living room conversations you're missing out on.
Literally this is made because I needed this. I don't have friends and people to talk to, so I listen to podcasts, and I'm like, you know what? I need to make mine, since there's not enough podcasts out there that are like this for me to listen to. Where it's not fucking well-researched, super intelligent people talking about their perfected crafts. It's people just hanging out.
And even when we do just hang out, we have the same conversations. And I think that's really what sparked the podcast was, us hanging out on, like, a cookout, bullshitting, and, like, we should record this. But this was all originally Jarvis's idea, so who knows what inspired him.
It's just, I just like the cult leaders, God came down and told me to do it. And you're just going to have to take my word for it. That's, that's even, so it's interesting, like, looking at cults and how we differentiate cults from religion. Like, for example, Muhammad was given a vision, he said, in a cave.
Yeah, he was their prophet, right?
Yeah, and he's like, I was just told this is what I need to write, and I just happened to memorize all of this new scripture I'm going to write, which sort of turned into the Quran. It got real complicated after he died, and people were like fighting over who's going to take his place, and that's where Islam sort of split into two sects.
Oh boy, that sounds real familiar to Christianity.
Yeah, Muhammad literally was inspired by Christians and Zoroastrians in creating Islam. So, like, you see in the foundation of Islam, he got a lot of his ideas from Christianity and from Zoroastrianism, which were the two monotheistic religions that he had encountered before he decided to come up with Islam. Well, before he was given the visions.
Before he was given the visions,
yes.
Of course, yeah. No, he
Which
was straight,
just so happened to align with all of his personal views.
He was straight L. Ron Hubbard. That's something I love about L. Ron is, he was quoted as, like, because he was a big science fiction author. But before all that, I wouldn't say big, but he was a science fiction author before Scientology.
No, I feel like he had some like, a lot of works at least.
Oh, yeah, he has a lot of works. I'm not sure how popular he was, but he has a lot of books, and he's been quoted saying, "You don't make money being a science fiction author. You make money starting a religion." And now Tom Cruise has a faith. So don't sue me, Tom Cruise. I'm just stating facts.
I think I think he just recently somehow managed to separate himself from Scientology without getting schwacked.
Tom Cruise, really?
Mm-hmm.
The last person I remember reading about separating from Scientology, it was one of the actors from My Name is Earl, and it was, I don't know if it was Jason Lee or the guy who plays Jason Lee's brother, the Randy character, whose name I can't remember for the life of me, but the Randy guy, I don't know if you ever watched My Name is Earl, but Randy was like his big fat brother.
No, I haven't seen it.
The dude got ripped. Lost a bunch of weight. He's fucking jacked.
No,
now.
I know who you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of his fucking name. But one of those two separated themselves from Scientology, if not both of them.
I remember watching a documentary about Scientology and all of the threats and separations of families when people decided that they were going to leave Scientology, like some fucking crazy shit.
The most I learned about Scientology was from South Park.
I was watching somebody they bought camera glasses and they went to go join Scientology and sort of record this. And this is ongoing right now. Oh, sorry if I'm blowing your cover, because some Scientologist is the only one who's done research so deep that he found this podcast. Like, not the feds after we threatened to blow up so many things. It's Scientologists when we threaten their money. So he went in.
Oh, the Jews definitely aren't coming after us at this point.
Yeah, well, they're already... Never mind.
After all the things that Mac has said.
Yeah. Their problems are bigger than us. They gotta face Hitler and things like that. Is he still around?
Oh man, Hitler hasn't been brought up in a minute.
Yeah.
I think we had one podcast talked about without him.
He's in Austria or something, living retirement. He probably died.
Allegedly.
Who knows? The German scientists were pretty smart. That's why we hired them all. But anyway, I'm going to get into one of the cults, one of the strangest events of modern history, in my opinion. So obviously 9/11 was the largest number of casualties on American soil from a non-natural event.
Now, I have a question for you. How does 9/11, if you know off the top of your head, and like I said earlier, we don't do a lot of research.
Bless you.
Excuse me. They always come in twos. How does 9/11 compare to Pearl Harbor? If you know.
Yeah, no, I think... I mean, pretty similar. Pretty similarly. The only difference is the terror aspect. So,
Right.
Pearl Harbor was a military base, so that was more of like a strategic operation. Obviously, they used planes to blow people up. But 9/11 was civilians, and it was to incite terror. So I guess there's somewhat of a difference there.
So 9/11 was just shy of 3,000. It was 2,996. And then Pearl Harbor was 2,403. So
okay.
like a 500-person difference. I think the big difference is that 9/11 was civilians.
Yeah.
Pearl Harbor only killed 63 civilians.
Okay. So the second largest civilian casualty rate from non-natural causes was from a cult. It was a mass suicide of almost 1,000 people.
Oh, is this the Jonestown Massacre?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I love this one.
Yeah, the People's Temple, the Jonestown Massacre.
Yes, let's go.
Yeah,
Jim Jones.
Where he fucking convinced everybody to drink poison, kill themselves. Almost 1,000 people.
Convinced or threatened? We'll get there.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, it wasn't even Kool-Aid, which is hilarious. It was Flavor Aid. Yeah, generic Kool-Aid. Man couldn't even shell out the good shit.
I can't even imagine so there's survivors, and let's see. Apparently, according to this article, his madness was rooted in his childhood.
Oh, as always.
Yes.
Where's this article coming from?
Rolling Stone.
Okay.
The quote, "I thought Jimmy was a really weird kid." Yeah, of course you did. Recalled in the 2006 documentary, which would have been after the massacre.
Oh.
These guys were best buds, and he's like, no, I always thought he was a weird kid.
Yeah.
I'm trying to fucking...
He's backpedaling,
Yeah.
maybe.
He was obsessed with religion. He was obsessed with death. A friend of mine told me that he saw Jimmy kill a cat with a knife. It always seems that it's the kids who are killing animals for fun are the serial killers, the cult leaders.
I mean, that's always said as a sign, as like if you're killing animals at a young age, then you're, that's like a sign for being a fucking murderer.
More Hitler stuff. When Hitler committed suicide in April 1945, thwarting enemies who sought to capture and humiliate him, Jimmy was impressed. He wrote.
Always some Hitler shit.
So he was inspired.
Oh, inspired by Hitler.
Yes.
Love it.
Let's see. They were a diverse group.
Yeah.
Not all cults are.
So where did the building of this cult come from? Like how did Jones get it together?
Let's see.
Because I know about the murders, well, mass suicide, however you want to phrase it, but I'm not really sure like what his basis was, like where he got shit together from.
So it was a total of 909 people died at the settlement. It was near an airstrip. It was a temple run building in Georgetown. Let's see. And not the Georgetown y'all are probably familiar with. It's in the country of Guyana, or not sure if I'm pronouncing that right.
Guyana?
Yeah,
Guyana.
I think you're right.
South America, right?
The poison was cyanide.
Yep.
Let's see. The poisonings in Jonestown followed the murder of 5 others by temple members, including a congressman, United States Congressman Leo Ryan, which Jones ordered. 4 others had committed murder-suicide before, and...
Wait, hold on. They had committed murder-suicide before?
The temple had sent out people to...
the temple, okay.
Yes.
Because it sounded like someone had gone out, killed someone, and then killed themselves, and they're like, I'm ready to do it again. Like,
yeah.
But how?
Let's see. So apparently 70 or more were injected with poison, and a third of them were minors of the victims, 304. That's fucking crazy.
So that's something I remember hearing a lot about, like, about the massacre, and that's part of the reason why he got so many people to drink the Flavor Aid. Is it was supposed to be a painless death, is what he was saying. It was going to be this painless death, for whatever their cause was. But it ended up looking like people were fucking struggling, and as they were dying, so
Damn.
He had the kids drink the Flavor Aid first. So all the parents of the children watched their kids die, and then feel like they didn't have a purpose to live, so now they would drink the fucking Kool-Aid, and then, die.
That's fucking gruesome.
Gruesome as fuck.
Yeah. The, cults are weird, man. And a lot of times you'll see it's rooted because people want money,
Right.
They want people to donate, some sort of gain.
Yeah.
Or sometimes they use it as some way to build up their own personal army of people who do their bidding. Mm-hmm. But in this instance, it's almost as if the cult leader was a serial killer himself in a way, just trying to get people to fucking kill
Just
himself.
had that mentality.
Yeah.
So something I've found with, like, serial killers is a lot of them just want control.
Mm-hmm.
They want control of other people. And I'll kind of get into that once I go more into my serial killer stuff. But they want to feel of power. They want to feel like they have power over other individuals. So, like, as a cult leader, you have all of this power over hundreds of people, and then you schedule a mass suicide. It kind of is like you're a serial killer. You just do it all at once instead of over the course of years.
Shit's crazy. So, if you want to get into your serial killer...
Absolutely. So, the person that I'm going to dive pretty deep, not necessarily deep, but get more in depth with than I will with anyone else probably, is Dennis Rader. Dennis Rader is also known as BTK, or the BTK Killer. And BTK stands for Bind Them, Torture Them, Kill Them. Which is a name he gave himself. Because let me tell you right now, dude, this guy is like the dork of fucking serial killers.
Yeah, that's like an off-brand Vinny Vidi Vici.
Yeah,
I came, I saw, I conquered.
Yeah, bind them, torture them, kill them. And what I love is that, like, he wrote them a letter. Because first off, this dude is not original in any way, shape, or form. Everything he does, he fucking bites off of other serial killers. So something he did is he would write to the news a lot. Like the Zodiac would, and he would send, like, encrypted letters, and he would send poems and bullshit like that. So he named himself. He was like, you guys can call me BTK. But then he also gave them a list of other names if they didn't like that one. He was like, you can call me BTK, or you can call me the Wichita Strangler, or the Poetic Strangler, or
Just straight up brainstorm into the news.
he was like, you can call me the Asphyxiator, the Garrote Phantom. Like, and for those of you who don't know what a garrote is, it's like a stick that you would put into, like, a knot or something. You would twist it to tie the knot, like something on a tourniquet. Yeah, this guy's a goddamn fool. And then he would, like, leave poems at his murder scenes, or he would write poems to some of his victims. He would send poems to the the news, and these are the most dog shit poems you've ever heard. I'm not gonna read you any of them because I don't even want to bother looking them up because they're dog shit. And, like, I'm a pretty bad poet myself, but this guy's like 8th grade, like, Bad.
Yellow ball, very round. Sometimes I've seen a hound.
You're not far off.
Hell yeah.
You're not far off. There's this one where he's like, "Oh, why weren't you there? I came, and you weren't there. Why weren't you there?"
Oh, that's deep.
And I mean, obviously I'm paraphrasing, but that's pretty fucking close to what was popping off in this man's poetry.
Hell yeah.
So, oh shit, I fucking lost my notes. Give me 1 second.
So was BTK a pretty successful serial killer?
So he was kind of successful in a way that, like, he killed people and didn't get caught for a while. But I'm not going to say that he was successful in the fact of that he was good at what he did.
Do you think serial killers are... What do you think is more important for them? The kill or how many kills there are? Like the art of the kill itself?
I will say I think that varies from serial killer to serial killer. Because a lot of them have their own, like, motives, what they look for out of a murder, so on and so forth. I think the issue with this guy is he had some mental disorder that gave him, like, very strong sexual fantasies. And not just, like, kinky sexual fantasies like, oh, I'd like to tie her up and fuck her while she cries. It was like, I want to stab her and cut her open while I nut. It's like those things dominated his mind. So he would try to, like, live out his... and for people who get that, who have that, like, disorder, for some of them, just the fantasy and, like, a jerk-off sesh is enough. But for some people, it's not. And by no means is that, like, an apologist, like, an apology for his bullshit. This guy's fucking sick. He's an idiot, but he's sick. So his murders stretched from 1974 to 1991. And all of these were...
That's a long time without getting caught.
It's because he took a hiatus. And like pretty big breaks in between, depending. So all in all, he has 10 murders.
Okay.
4 of them were at once because he killed a whole family his first time.
Damn.
And then got a little more selective as he went on. But the years go 74, that's the family. He did another woman a couple months later. He didn't kill again for 3 years. Got 2. That was in 77. Didn't kill again until 85. Another in 86, and then he waited until 91.
So what's he doing between the murders?
Oh, that's the good shit, right? Bullshit jobs. I don't remember what he was in the, like, mid to late 70s. But eventually he became a scoutmaster. I think in the late 70s and early 80s he worked as he worked for ADT, the security company.
Oh, okay.
And that was, like, part of his in and how he would find people, because his big thing is he liked to murder women because it was like a sexual thing. And he would fixate on these women. So, like, the first family he murdered, he fixated on the wife. And he was like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking do stuff to her. And he was also an Air Force veteran. I think he was about in his late 20s when he did this first one. So he puts on, like, his Air Force parka and some other bullshit, and he, like, breaks in. And he's like, it's gonna be the wife and the kids. Too easy. I got this. And this guy's a fucking idiot. Biggest fucking idiot you can imagine. And he busts in. And his whole plan is to be like, he's going to tell them that he's escaping from the military. He just wants some money. He wants their car, some food, and he's going to bolt on out of there. But the husband is home that day. He didn't expect that. He didn't plan for that because he's fucking dumb. So, but
who's this guy?
Good for him. He has a gun, I guess. But I guess the reason the husband had stayed home because the husband was recently in a car accident, had some sore ribs, wasn't into work. But, like, Dennis Rader, BTK, fucking, like, holds the family at gunpoint. He ties them all up. And he ties them all up with, like, I want to say, like, medical tape at first. And, like, it's hands and feet. And then the family starts complaining. They're like, My hands and feet hurt. And he said, okay. And gets some rope, some softer rope, and reties everything. And he would like loosen it, retighten it. The guy, the husband, because this is the Otero family, is like, you know, laying on the ground. So he like puts a blanket or something underneath him to make his ribs more comfortable. Gives him like a little pillow to lay his head on. He's like, I'll make you guys more comfortable. It's all right. And he just starts fucking strangling them. It's like, I want to say some rope. I'm not really sure, but he's like choking them out. And then they would, you know, go limp, stop moving, and he's like, okay, cool. They're dead. And move on to the next one, and then the last one would wake up because he didn't choke them out till death. He choked them until they passed out because he didn't know dick about anything. And then just kept choking them out until they finally fucking died. And let me tell you how sick this boy gets. Let me tell you how sick this boy gets. They have an 11-year-old daughter. You know what he does? He takes her into the basement. He has a noose. And he hangs her in the basement. And she is just inches off the ground. He takes her clothes off while she's hanging. Reties her hands after he takes her clothes off. Takes some pictures. And then while he's touching her, he jerks off.
What the fuck?
Yeah. And I'm glossing over a lot here.
Man. And this is just why you should always have a fucking flamethrower on hand in your house.
Yeah, or if someone comes into your house, just beat the shit out of them.
You seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Oh, yeah.
When he gets fucking roasted by the flamethrower?
Fucking holy shit.
That's what I'm saying. There's a dude in there who's retying your robes, giving you a pillow.
Yeah.
And I don't know the circumstances, but for the man of the house, you just let this guy come in here and kill all of these kill your whole family and you. Like,
beat the shit
you're
out
telling
of
me all four of you couldn't fucking...
And from the research I've done about BTK, about Dennis, is that he was a fucking dork. He came away from this experience. He had a journal, and like I've read and listened to a handful of his entries. And like after this one, he was like, "Oh, my hands weren't strong enough. My hands weren't strong enough to strangle them. I need to strengthen my hands." Like
they got lost by Mr. Weak Hands.
Like the rest of his body doesn't have shit to do with it. Like, bro,
Yeah,
do
no,
some fucking curls, you pussy. He's like,
my
no, I'm
hands.
gonna squeeze on a tennis ball and get strong. And holy shit, he had these gay little. Excuse me, that was not appropriate. Whatever. He had these stupid little fucking trademarks. He's like, yeah, every time I kill somebody, I drink a glass of water in their house, and then I wash the cup.
Oh no! It's the glass cleaner killer guy.
He's a joke. So, of all the people he'd murder, he would take, like, souvenirs, driver's licenses, especially clothes, like women's clothes, panties, like negligees, stuff like that. And he would keep them in this place that he called his hidey hole. That was his word for it.
Is this who the fucking guy on You was based after?
Oh, maybe, I don't know. But he had a hidey hole at his house because this guy did have a wife and a child. I think the child was born later into his murderous rampage, if you want to call it a rampage. But yeah, these are his words, hidey hole. And what he would do with all of these like underwear, panties, negligees, scarves that he took from these women that he murdered, he would put them on, put on masks, put on makeup. He would take photos of himself and then jerk off to those photos.
Probably because he didn't get bullied in high school. See, if he would have got bullied, would have solved it all out. Everybody bullies him till he comes into a normal phase.
Yeah. Well, I guess he tries to attribute his issues to like pretty much every small issue he's had in his child. He's like, oh, I had an ear infection. I had an ear infection when I was a kid.
Damn.
I better murder all these women.
I must be one badass motherfucker. I've had 7 ear infections and I still haven't killed anyone.
Yeah. This dude is...
Look at my self-control.
He's straight wacko, but he's a nerd. So a lot of this stuff would, like, obviously bring him to climax. Like, it's very sexually driven. With some of his other murders, his ruse, because you know how we were talking about control? I said I'd get into this. He liked to control his victims. And he would make them feel as comfortable as possible. That's why, you know, he retied all those bindings, would lay stuff out for them. There was a woman who had 3 children that he busted into. And he, like, took all the children, put them in a bathroom with blankets, toys, books to keep them occupied. And he told this woman, he was like, hey, I'm a sexual deviant, and I'm here to rape you. And she said, all right, let's get this over with so I can call the cops.
Yo, what?
Yeah. And he, like, makes her undress, and she says, can I keep my sweater on? He says, yeah, that's fine. And she's like, can you keep the door open? And he's like, yeah, that's fine. And in his own journals, he writes, and again, I'm paraphrasing, he's like, basically saying that he likes to make these people feel comfortable because it sets them at ease, makes them feel in control, they feel like they're going to survive, and then it makes him murdering them feel all the better. And he gets off to this. And do you know what he calls him getting off to all of this? His nutting, his orgasming. You know what his word for orgasming is?
Hit me with it.
Sparky big time.
Damn it. Not the Sparky big time.
The Sparky big time.
Fucking dork.
He's a fucking dork.
Sparky big time?
And he writes about how he'll compare himself to all of these other murderers and serial killers, and he's like, Jeffrey Dahmer, Son of Sam, Ted of the West. Not Ted Bundy, Ted of the West, because he's a fucking loser. There's nothing original about him. And I'm not saying go out there and be an original serial killer.
Yeah, if you're going to be a serial killer, you better be original.
Yeah, you better be fucking cool, kid.
Tired of all these serial killers stealing ideas.
I think around his second or third murder, he would wear these leather golf gloves. Because, wear gloves, don't leave fingerprints. I don't know how, fingerprints were integrated in the 70s. I don't know if that was a big thing. I don't know dick about history. But he wore these leather fucking golf gloves to murder people. Not to hide his fingerprints, really, but because he saw a movie where Jack Nicholson did that as a hitman, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Jeez.
He called this murderous side of him Factor X. He was like, those who don't know about Factor X don't understand. He would.
And they couldn't catch this guy?
No. Even though he was a bumbling fucking idiot. Pretty much every single time he tried to kill someone, everything went wrong. There was this one instance where he went to murder this woman. Her brother was there. And he shot her brother in the face twice. Like, in the face. Shot him. With, I believe, a Magnum and a .22. And the brother was still able to run out of the house and get the police. Like, that's how much this dude sucks.
Damn. That's a fucking...
Yeah, I mean...
badass dude.
That kid was...
fucking running around with 2 gunshot wounds in the face,
That guy was 19, too.
Holy cow.
19 at the time. Survived the 2 wounds. Went back in. The sister that was murdered died, but she was recovered from the scene alive. She died in the hospital.
Oh, okay.
After getting stabbed multiple times with an 8-inch hunting knife.
Damn.
Yeah.
Just a fucking tough family.
Oh, yeah. Seriously. Like, good for fucking them.
And the fucking Crab Rangoon still gets away. Whatever his name is.
Oh, yeah. BTK. Dennis Rader. He got away for years. And his biggest break was between 86 and 91. And this guy's just an attention-seeking little slut. Mm. And I believe...
He started in OnlyFans.
If it were today, he would have. And I believe he got back into murdering because he wanted the attention. Like there was an instance after one of his murders where some other guys were like getting arrested and getting the credit for it, and that's when he started Zodiac killer that shit, and sending stuff to the local news source and being like, "Oh, they don't know anything about that. Here's some details," and he would like, put fucking bound Barbie dolls with their hands and feet tied in cereal boxes and shit. To be like, "It's me, I swear." He went on to be a scoutmaster. There was some time where he went on like an overnight with all the Cub Scouts and stuff, because I think his son was a Cub Scout. And he'd like, "Oh, hey, other scoutmasters, I have a headache. I'm gonna go to bed early." And then he would leave and go kill somebody. And then just come back.
Headache's gone.
Headache's gone.
Jeez.
I'm good. I'm G to G, baby.
That's crazy to me.
Though I think they finally got him in 2004. And it's kind of ridiculous how they fucking got him. Like, this dude's so dumb. Also, all the letters that he would send to the to the news were riddled with typos.
They had return addresses.
The guy, he was smart about that. That's the thing, is this dude's a huge dipshit. But like the things that he really needed to be smart at, he was. But everything else he got out of a fucking magazine or out of a book or from another serial killer. Like, he did not have one original idea about his murders. He was a fucking dork. He was a huge nerd. Even these guys that he worked with, I don't remember which business this was that he worked with, but they all said like, "Yeah, no, we didn't like him. He wasn't a guy you'd get a beer with after work."
Seems like he'd be a serial killer.
Seems like he'd be a serial killer. But it was in 2004-ish. He puts himself back into the media because he's an attention-seeking slut. He wants to be one of the famous serial killers. And he writes to the news, and he's like, "Hey, if I communicate with you guys through a floppy disk, can you trace that? Be honest." And they said, "No, not at all. We swear." So he gives them a fucking floppy disk with whatever on it, and they find like a deleted Word document with the name Dennis and a link to the church that he was like a president of the community group there, and they link that along with some fucking like sperm to a pap smear from like his wife or his daughter, and as all the pieces fell together, and they got his ass.
Damn. Be honest.
It literally said, "Be honest." Quotes. "Be honest."
I don't fucking... That's crazy.
The guy was such a dumbass. And I'm not even going into like all the dumbass shit he did. We're being super general, but he was such a fuck. There's a whole that show Mindhunter. I think there's like a season or an episode about him.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I watched a couple episodes of Mindhunter. Flying somewhere, I don't know. I downloaded some episodes.
Yeah.
The download function on Netflix for shows.
Pretty money.
Pretty cash money.
The first time I deployed, that's why I watched all of Stranger Things.
Oh, okay. The season 4 should be coming out soon. I'm pretty excited for it. It's a very amusing show for me.
I don't know. I mean, it's entertaining, but it's progressively gone down in quality as the seasons go on.
I feel like a lot of shows like that, it's like the first seasons are always the fucking
and they just
best.
don't really know what to do from there,
Yeah. The going back into the cult side of things, another pretty crazy cult that I was looking into, led by a guy named Rajneesh in Oregon.
Ooh.
Now this was a fucking out of this world group. This is a you'd think Rajneesh was some sort of like military commander or something with the way he strategized his cult, his tactics, and how he kept it going for so long. I believe he's an Indian, but for some reason was living in the Soviet Union and fled that. But he came into the United States in the 80s where he started the cult. Pretty sure he was trying to figure out how to get money, and got the idea to start a cult. It was one that I'm pretty sure the gist of the cult was just getting people to focus on their inner self, just real cheesy stuff. They'd like just dance,
real boilerplate cult,
and they're like, God is within you, you are all God, and things, just dumb shit like that. Everybody's just eating it up. They're like, yeah, we really do like, donations, wink wink, and obviously their psychological tricks worked well enough to get plenty of money. Rajneesh amassed a ton of wealth, enough to have the largest Rolls-Royce collection in the world. He had something like over 100 Rolls-Royces. Why you would buy that many of the same car, I don't know.
That's literally what I was just wondering. Yeah. Like, what do you need all of them for?
But he also, so he wanted to sort of build buildings up to sort of grow his cult. But he found out that you need approval from the court and the local politicians, and so the county's got to approve any buildings and things of that nature, and they wouldn't approve things. So what he did is he got his cult members to go start running for political office in the area, and they ended up being able to get all these building codes, built their own airport.
Jesus Christ!
So he had his own airport and airline.
What was the
Rajneesh Airlines?
What was the name of the cult?
I'm pretty sure it was literally like the Rajneeshis.
He's creative, I tell you what.
He had they used his airline to start getting in supplies for his cult because he's according to the government, he was trying to assassinate rival politicians, and had also amassed a large collection of unauthorized firearms for the defense of his cult.
Oh.
Like fully automatic firearms and like a shit ton of them. So the ATF wasn't happy about that. And,
naturally.
People weren't happy that he was going to assassinate his political rivals either, in his small town in Oregon. I want to say, so the mastermind behind the cult was the second in command. And it was a lady friend of his that sort of did everything, whereas he was sort of just, since he started it and named it after himself, the face of the cult.
Right.
And she used him to take the fall. But this was 1981 to 88, I think. So they had a good 7-year run of this dude just
right around the time of BTK.
Racking up money. Apparently that's a good time for fucking crazy shit.
Oh, yeah. No, the 70s and 80s were huge for cultists and serial killers. Even the 60s. Like, the Mansons were in the 60s.
That's interesting.
And I wonder if, if the numbers are the same now. It's just at the time they got the coverage.
Yeah. Or what the numbers were like before then, when there was, almost no coverage.
Yeah.
Back when you only had the local paper, imagine what kind of shit was happening around the country. People would just never know about.
I have a story about some serial killers in the 1800s. In Kansas as well, because BTK killed in Wichita, Kansas, which is where I lived for a couple of years.
Okay. Some 1800 serial killers.
In Kansas.
Interesting. I am down to hear this story. That's what I'd like to fucking... Because, think about, medieval times. Death and killing was a little more commonplace. So I wonder if there was... Since it was so commonplace, I'd feel like serial killers would be more likely to fucking spawn out of nowhere.
Well, yeah.
Because, there's it's all these kids just fucking numb to death and murder.
It's hard to kind of track MO too. They don't have a lot of the same detective ins and outs that they have now.
Yeah.
Like Jack the Ripper, one of the famous serial killers of all time. But even that could be like a miscommunication. It could have just been a bunch of sex workers getting murdered and just getting associated to one person. But who really be knowing?
I feel like being in a investigative career field before all this fancy technology would be such a fucking crazy job. Like,
yeah, John Mulaney has a really good bit about that, about being like like a detective in the 1930s, or just like before they had any sort of like blood testing or shit like that, like any forensics. It's like, hey, sir, we got a bunch of the killer's blood in here, and the detective's like, gross, mop it up,
yeah,
back to my hunch,
shit out of here. It's all just fucking word of mouth. Like, this guy? Did you see this? I seen him kill him. Well, this guy seen you, so you're going to jail. Case closed. Yeah, I feel like getting away with shit would have been so much easier. That's why you had all those fucking famous bank robbers back then, too, because if you've got some good tactics...
John Mulaney's got a bit about that, too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, you dress up for the occasion. As long as you're not there when the police arrive, you're good.
That's fair, yeah. No cameras, nothing.
Yeah, well, the bank robbers would take credit for their bank robberies.
Yeah, I guess so. We had famous bank robbers.
Yeah, they'd be like, yeah, we stole all this money, go fuck yourself.
Shit is crazy. Yeah,
but how did this cult come to an end after their airport? What happened from there?
They got raided. Not in as gruesome a manner as like it happened in Waco, Texas by the ATF, but a very similar fashion.
So it was the ATF that raided them?
I'm pretty sure it was the ATF. I can double check that.
The illegal guns got them. Buy your guns legally, kids.
The ATF doesn't mess around when it comes to illegal firearms.
Yeah.
Like, you can be a serial killer, kill for decades and get away with it. But the second you have an unregistered firearm or a suppressor that the ATF doesn't know about, they will come and burn you alive like they did in Waco.
Or if you have like an SBR that has a foldable stock, you're done, kiddo.
You put a fucking foregrip on a pistol?
Oh, not
felon.
Not a chance.
Go to jail for life, criminal.
I saw this TikTok and it was this guy wearing an ATF windbreaker and he's like hollering down to these guys and he says, "Hey, are those guns legal?" And you just hear back, "Are those level 4 plates?" And the ATF dude's like, "Oh, we gotta go.
Not this house, the next one.
Next one.
It's like Ruby Ridge.
Oh my god. That's crazy that, like, it's a cult doing cultist things. It has its own airports. I'm sure there's plenty of just whack shit going on, but it's illegal firearms.
Yeah.
That brings it down.
Yeah, and they took over the entire county government, I'm pretty sure. The entire county government was members of the Rajneeshis.
So what were their like values? What were their goals? Were they trying to achieve anything, or was it just this guy trying to make money?
Let's see. Let me look back into it. The Rajneesh movement. Indian mystic Bhagwan Rajneesh. Yeah, let's see. Neo-Sannyasins. They used to be known as Rajneeshis. So yeah, they were the Rajneeshis.
Oh, wow.
Or orange people because of the orange and then later red, maroon, and pink clothes they used. The Rajneesh and disciples. Founders' hostility to traditional moral values. So he didn't like traditional values.
I didn't like traditional values.
Yeah. Let's see. And then his community was called Rajneesh Param. So everything was fucking named after this guy.
Well, if you're starting a cult, I imagine you're pretty self-centered, so why not name everything after you?
So he started the movement in India before he came here. Okay, so he'd already started it, and when he came here, he had kept it going.
Oh, smart man.
Oh, interesting. The beliefs and practices. Oh, they even have the logo.
It looks like a stop sign.
Yeah, it's a stop sign with a upside down triangle with a circle. It's literally just as many shapes as you can get on top of each other.
No, yeah. So it's literally a stop sign, an upside down triangle, and a circle in the center.
And a circle around all of that too.
Yeah, and a circle around.
And it goes red, white, red, white, red, white.
And the stop sign isn't even like centered.
No, yeah,
that's disgusting.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's a 9-sided. It's a nonagon.
Oh, so it's not as... Oh, Jesus Christ. What a bunch of fucking
extra
nerds.
side on their stop sign. Must be an Indian thing. Several times a month. So... intentional community. So basically they were living within the cult. So it was full on. It wasn't a... every Sunday type of cult.
Oh, they had like a barracks. Well, yeah. I don't imagine any Sundays type of cult. They just call that a church.
They didn't even have clearly defined or shared values, but Rajneesh discouraged marrying or having children because he saw that families are prone to dysfunction and destructiveness, so you just shouldn't have a family.
He was against traditional values, so that makes sense.
So not many children. Some still were born, but not many were born in their community.
Not many.
They had one in Oregon, but also one in England.
How many abortions do you think they promoted?
They do seem like a pro-choice type of
like
a group.
Pro-choice. I feel like they're not like a, hey, go to Planned Parenthood. I feel like they're a punch you in the stomach.
So they were making annually upwards of $45 million in the U.S.
Jesus Christ.
They even had a holdings company, such as the Rajneesh Travel Corps, the Rajneesh Community Holdings, Rajneesh Modern Car Collection Trust, whose sole purpose was to deal with the acquisition and rentals of Rolls Royces.
So what this tells me is that this guy 100% did not have any values. He wasn't crazy. I mean, he was crazy, but he wasn't like insane with some values. He just wanted to make money and drive nice cars.
Yeah, so there's a documentary on Netflix. It's called Wild Wild Country. It's a series, so it's a whole season about this specific cult. It goes a lot more in depth, has all the details. Highly recommend.
Oh yeah. Like we said at the beginning, we're just kind of casually touching on these things. Yeah. To our one listener who comments and recommends, if you want us to go more in depth on anything, we will. And any other, like, if there are other cults or murderers you want us to go in depth on, we'll do some research. Let us know.
So I'm curious as to the actual definition of cult. What it's a system of religious veneration and devotion directed towards a particular figure or object.
So religion with a living deity, essentially.
Religion with a slight negative connotation.
Yeah.
Nobody's like, yeah, no, it's a cult. It's definitely a cult. We're proud of it. Now, anybody who runs a cult doesn't say it's a cult. From what I've seen, it's just religion for them.
Yeah, that's like
basically it's religion until you do something bad, and now you're a cult.
It's like in King of the Hill, when Luann joins a cult and Hank is driving around looking for him, and they pull up next to this building. There's these people outside gardening wearing the same gray sweatsuit or whatever, and Hank is like, "Hey, is this the cult?" And she says, "No, we're a group of peace-loving people with shared values." And he's like, "Yep, this is it.
We've made it." Yeah, that's because there's so many religious groups in the world that you don't see them as referred to as cult.
Yeah, like Catholicism.
Yeah, the largest culprit of fucking underage sex offense in the world. Mm-hmm. Yeah, fuck those guys. They're responsible for fucking the sexual abuse of minors and close to like the hundreds of thousands annually.
And not prosecuting either, just moving priests and bishops and cardinals around. And something that really fucking gets me about them is that they're probably withholding information that comes from the Library of Alexandria. But we've talked about that before.
So you were talking about the pineal gland,
Perineal Perennial?
I'm pretty sure it's pineal.
I think it's perennial.
Let's do a little Google
I
search.
Googled it the other day, and I think it's perennial.
Yeah, pineal gland.
Is that the one with DMT?
Yeah.
No, it's a source of melatonin, you ding dong. Look up perennial.
Images. Pineal gland. I'm pretty sure it's this. All right. Perennial gland? Perennial?
Perennial is the one that produces DMT, I think.
All right. So the perennial gland, it just says pineal gland. A small P-shaped gland in the brain.
It is the pineal. What the fuck?
Either way. So it's sort of similarly shaped to a pine cone.
Yeah. And that's why the pine cone is shown so often.
There's literally a statue of a pine cone in the Vatican.
Well, yeah, and that's what he carries on his staff.
His staff has a pine cone.
We talked about this two podcasts ago.
That's big Rajneeshis.
Big Rajneeshis. big Rajneeshis.
Yeah. Man, what I would give to just fucking...
That's why I think religion's based off of tripping on Sykes. But I said I was going to talk about serial killers in the 1800s. So that's where I'm going to go.
Let's go. Let's travel back 220 years.
Between 1871 and 1872, roughly. And I'm not even looking them back up. I'm just a Kansas fucking native. So this is what I'm going off of. The Bender family, a group of Germans. There was, and I'm paraphrasing is a word being used very loosely right now. But there's basically Pop Bender, and then like Mama Bender, and their son and daughter. And no one really knows if the son and daughter were brother and sister or husband and wife. No one knows.
Or both.
Or both. And apparently, like, the parents spoke German or a German language, something similar to German. And then the younger ones, like the young adults, could speak English and the German language. So they were in, I think, southeastern Kansas, what is now known as Cherryvale. I don't remember what it was called at the time of their murders, but they ran a grocery store, a very basic grocery store, an inn, and they lived there as well. It was all one building. And it was about the size of a small home, so it was very compact. There wasn't a lot of room. Like, to say it was an inn was very generous. Like, it's more of like a place for one or two people to stop for the night. So what they would do is when people would come in, they would like serve them food. And I remember my librarian telling us this as a class in like 7th grade, because I'm from Kansas. What they would do is they would like sit these individuals at a dinner table and serve them food, but they would set their backs to this curtain, and it was this white curtain that another Bender would stand behind with a fucking sledgehammer.
That's who I thought you were talking about.
Yeah, those fucking hickorbillies.
Yeah.
And they would just fucking bash these people's heads in and like throw them in the basement, cut their fucking throats. And everything was fine, and they were doing great, and they were killing all of these people that were like traveling through Independence and coming up and trying to go west, because it was all about like manifest destiny time. And then they just like killed this doctor who had a brother who was a colonel and another brother who was like in the Kansas government, and then they were fucked, and people started coming after him. Something else I like about them a lot is that the younger woman Bender, the English-speaking one, who apparently had a very outgoing, bubbly personality, would front as like a psychic, like a spiritual reader. And that was how they made some of their money as well. But they killed a shitload of people. A mass grave was found. Once the local area found out that people were getting murdered and so on and so forth, and they formed a posse, the Benders fucking deuced out of there, dude. I think one one of like the urban legends I've heard of, and this is like some shit that I've not heard outside of Kansas, is that they went away in a hot air balloon.
Interesting.
I think it's bullshit because I've not found anything to support that really, or at all. That's just one of the the urban legends that you hear in the area that you're from when this kind of shit happens.
The looking into like the reason behind serial killings is such a crazy thing.
Yeah.
Now there is some serial killers, large groups of serial killers, who's treated like hunting because they're cannibals, and so they serial killer to get food for themselves.
Because it's like a delicacy.
Yeah, there was a family living in a national park. I forget the name of the family, but it was a husband and a wife who were... I'm pretty sure they were traveling at the time, and they had ran across someone else, and they were like starving. And one of their ideas was to kill the people they came across and eat them for food. And the spouse was supportive, like, yeah, absolutely, I agree, that's such a good idea. And so, just like Adam and Eve with the apple, they just decided like a bad idea was a good one, and they went for it, and they fucking loved it. And they're like, hey, great idea, let's just hang out here, the van life, let's not get stuck to a mortgage or nothing, and let's just, like, national parks, people are just going to keep coming, we're going to keep killing them and eating them. They ended up having like 7 children, all of them raised as cannibals. Jeez. Killing people in national parks. Like, can you imagine?
I think that's something we talked about in one of our earlier podcasts on this season too, is like the amount of people that are fucking go missing or are killed in national parks.
Yeah.
How much of that do you think is cannibals and like some deliverance shit?
Dude, it's creepy. I've seen some videos of people who are going and exploring some of these cave systems in national parks, doing their own personal investigation.
Yeah.
Not only is that particularly creepy, it's also sketchy because a lot of park rangers, at least in the videos I've seen, have redirected people away from trails, saying that those aren't actual trails and that those caves people aren't allowed to go in without any explanation or anything like that. As if the park rangers are somehow know what's going on and are either helping these people, like, hey, stay away from there, you're going to get killed and eaten, or it's some sort of like group effort and they just don't want you fucking filming so they don't get their cover blown.
Listen,
the park rangers are the cannibals.
I think I'm gonna believe that the park rangers are trying to keep people from not being eaten versus like what these fucking douchebags are thinking, and they're probably thinking like, oh, the park rangers don't want me to go there because that's the road to El Dorado.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, no, you're gonna get eaten. This is some Green Inferno shit.
They know about it, but they're still working as a park ranger because they love their job.
Oh no!
Instead of getting tens of billions of dollars in gold.
That's some straight like wrong turn shit. If you've ever seen those movies.
Yeah.
Fucking hills have eyes. Like, oh my god, you're such a fat cat.
Yeah. Imagine raising like a cat farm, like
that'd be
for food.
That's like impossible. There's a reason why herding cats is like a term for doing something difficult.
They say if you die in your house, your animals will eat you if they get hungry enough.
Yeah, I think I could be totally wrong or misquoting, but I think cats will eat you faster than dogs will.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Dogs are loyal on the eat you aspect. On the eat you scale, dogs will eat you slower than cats will eat you. But I mean, I could have gauged that one.
Something else to think about. In movie making, cats are super difficult to work with because you can train a cat to do stuff, to do tricks, to do certain movements for the camera. but it won't do it until it feels like it. A dog's just gonna do it because it loves you. A cat will be like, no, when I feel like it.
Definitely very different species, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Cats are just, I think, inherently fucking assholes.
If we're gonna go along this line of weird shit, the super weird shit, I forget what's the name of these things. It's where DNA splicing, they inject eggs of one species with sperm from another species, normally using like chicken eggs, and they'll inject it with like the sperm of like a lizard and create these like weird conglomeration of two species that looks like it's suffering just being alive. And it looks like the most immoral thing you could ever imagine.
They actually like come to fruition, like the chromosomes match up and everything. And
it becomes alive.
There's no way.
They're what are they called? There's a term for it. Yeah.
Because I mean, like I've heard of shit like a liger. That happens.
Yeah. So
like
it has to be
ligers and
specific
tcions.
species.
Yeah, very very specific.
Now, even with this DNA splicing and stuff, it does have to be certain species. They have to have some sort of similarities in their
like
in their
a horse and a donkey
biological structure. But they're doing like not two mammals. It's like mammal reptile things like that.
There's no way that works.
And it creates things that are alive.
I don't believe that.
That are almost like plants, but have like
what the fuck?
Yeah. It's fucking weird, but they've got like brains and they like adapt. There's like these strange video documentaries of this people at home creating their own creatures and stuff.
That makes me want to throw up.
The most evil, weird, gross shit you could think of. Like things that like that should be illegal. I'm getting ticketed for jaywalking while there's these guys fucking shoving fucking
making lizard pigs
and chicken bears and making them live inside this weird fluid while they fucking torture them in their basement. And they're like, no, that's fine. It's a free country. But use the crosswalk.
Oh, I'm fucking disgusted.
It's weird.
Reminds me of an X-Files
episode. I hate all this crazy experimentation, but a lot of people are trying to like weigh the benefits because they're like, well, if you don't do this crazy experimentation, you won't learn from it. So like a lot of the stuff we know about our medical fields, like how we know how to do surgeries and transplants and things of that nature, are because of the mutilation that like a lot of Japanese groups did in World War II.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was about to go into, is where do you draw the line between something that's like too fucked up to do and something that's actually for like a scientific medical gain.
Yeah, I mean,
where do you draw the line?
I'm more on the side of, listen, if we don't know how to do it, don't fucking mutilate some person to figure out how to do it to save more people later. Just accept it. Accept it. Natural balance, in my opinion. Everybody's always talking about, overpopulation, this and that.
Yeah.
Yet, we'll fucking torture people to be able to save 7 people, and it'll kill 1.
You say that, and I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm also not publicly agreeing with you. But take this conversation back a couple hundred years, and you have this guy who worked for a patent office way back when, and this fella, Eli Whitney, creates the cotton gin.
Yes.
And he goes to this patent office, and he's like, I got the cotton gin. And this guy who works at the patent office says, well, damn, everything useful ever has been created. Nothing more can progress our society. And he quit. So,
I would be fine with that. I admire ancient lifestyles. We don't need all this extra stuff. In my opinion.
I'm not trying to say you're wrong, but do you think that Starfleet from Star Trek was built off of happiness and rainbows? I think it was built on animal experimentation. Human experimentation.
No, I agree.
I'm saying it's shitty and disgusting.
I'd prefer to live in Rome with no human experimentation,
just gladiators,
than Galactus Impactus in the next solar system over, because we tortured 6 billion people and fucking have human farms.
Fucking A. No, I'd like
Like, okay, yeah, occasionally every 100 years, there's a plague that wipes out 30% of the population. We can't stop it. Okay. Natural balance.
I'm not with, like, the
That's Thanos.
I'm not with, like, morally the human, like, mutilation and testing and stuff.
There's a really basic question that sort of, like, gauges where you are on the spectrum, and it's I'm on the spectrum. The railway, yeah. No, so basically the question is, there's a train on a track, right, and it's moving forward, and it's going to run over 3 people because they're strapped down on the track. Yeah. Now you are at the lever that can turn the train, and you can either choose to not do anything and allow those 3 people to die, or if you pull that lever, the train will turn onto another track, but only kill 1 person. Now, if you pull the lever, technically you saved some lives, because only 1 person's going to die because of 3, but your actions killed the person that wasn't going to die in the first place. So do you just let it kill the 3 people, or do you purposefully kill the other person to let 3 live?
I'm going to answer this question, but what I want you to do is tell me, who are the people on the tracks? Are they significant to me, or are they strangers?
So, the 1 person, right, on the left is a child in 1942 in Tokyo, Japan, that the water purification department...
Are we living in 1942?
Yes.
No, modern times, right now. It's me, baby.
All right, so... The kid on the left side, it's 1 person, but it's a child, 12 years old. His name is Alex Bolt, and
totally
he's 12,
fictitious.
But he's the varsity captain of his high school football team.
At 12?
Yes.
Was he as smart as you?
No, he's got Down syndrome. And,
oh, wow, this is getting rough.
And 1 arm. But he's the quarterback, so he still has his throwing arm.
Oh, you're really getting out there. Now
he's got 6 moms.
Polygamy, sure. Okay, yeah. Continue.
Yeah, he's Mormon. Old Mormon, not new Mormon.
Yeah.
And then the people on the right, the 3 people, they are... alumni for the local historically black college, one of which just released a new hit album on Spotify, and it is the number 1 for the month on Spotify. So those are the 3 that are gonna die. Do you let those 3 guys die, or do you kill fucking Mr. Bolt, the kid with Down syndrome in 1 arm, who's a varsity 12-year-old captain?
A varsity 12-year-old Down syndrome captain. You really went went for the fences on this one. Now, do I know all this?
Yes.
As I'm holding the lever?
You know all of this. Yeah. You're not touching... Don't touch the lever until you make your choice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lever's not touched, but I have the dossier.
Yep. There's like when you're walking in the zoo, and there's like a little board, and it shows what plants are in the area and stuff, so you know what's going on. That's what's there.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's like a...
There's a line behind you of people who are going to have to make the choice after you.
Oh, so they're just constantly replacing?
Yeah.
With the child, with a 12-year-old...
You're on page 64. Oh. You're on the 64th
Is it different scenarios?
Yeah.
Or the same scenario every time?
Different. So one side will be the same for the next time. So some people last a long time because there's like really good people, and they're like always the ones who get to live.
Yeah.
So, but at least one is always replaced because someone dies in each scenario.
Yeah, exactly. It's either 1 versus 3.
Yeah, there's a line of people just trembling behind you, crying, I don't want to have to do this.
I tell you, it is really tough. Because, like, how can you judge several lives versus 1? But, like, I'm a pretty mathematically inclined person. So I'd say, like, mathematically, 1 versus 3, you give it to the 3.
But do you murder that 1 person? Because it's your choice to kill them.
Oh, yeah. But it's a murder.
But it's only because he has 1 arm.
No, it's a murder.
Blake hates paraplegic people.
It's paraplegic would mean that all 4 of their appendages are fucked.
And he hates them. Those are called nuggets.
Wow.
And there's a nugget porn, if people were wondering, that focuses people with no arms and no legs.
I think there's a South Park or not South Park.
I only know that because I saw a video of someone else talking about it. I don't watch that.
There's an Adult Swim show, I think, called Moral Oral, and Oral's dad is a not a paraplegic, but he's missing all 4 of his limbs. I think it'd be a murder-suicide situation, because I really don't think I could like continue on after that. So I would like Inception that shit and lay my head down on the track after I killed the Down syndrome boy.
But then you've killed 2 people.
Hey, 2 versus 3, my ratio is still good.
All right, scenario 2. Right? There's a guy with a gun to his head. There's 3 guys with guns to their heads, and they're all about to kill themselves.
Oh, I saw this Julian Smith.
Malk? It's a great video.
Malk?
Yeah.
Some Malk?
You have a gun as well. And there's one person who doesn't have a gun to your left. Now, if you kill that person, those 3 people won't kill themselves. But if you don't kill that person, then those 3 people will kill themselves. Which one are you choosing? Do you let the 3 people kill themselves, or do you just shoot the other person who's unarmed to prevent 3 people who are already going to kill themselves from killing themselves?
Listen, I'm not a trained negotiator. And I tell you what, I don't negotiate with terrorists.
I'm going to shoot all of them and leave, because that was confusing.
It's like the question, like you're in a room with Stalin, Hitler, and Churchill, but you have a gun with 1 bullet. What do you do? Like, bro, I'm shooting myself. I'm out of here.
Yeah, pretty sure they've cemented history. I don't want to change things.
Yeah, there's too much pressure.
I've done nothing.
Too much pressure, bro. I'm gone.
Bad or not, those 3 people made major moves. I've done what? Made $50 this week?
Yeah,
I'm not doing
seriously.
nothing.
I recorded a podcast that I don't get paid for. I'm out.
Hell yeah. We didn't even kill anyone on this serial killer podcast. Imagine a serial killer podcast where we're committing serial murder.
I feel like there's a movie about that. I think there is a movie about that.
Serial killer who just does a podcast about serial killers?
I think he vlogs.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, shit, fuck.
Oh, dear.
It's called Untraceable.
Untraceable? Okay.
Yeah, and it's about this serial killer who, like, streams his murders. And the detective team is trying to track him down and trace his murder streams.
But he turned his location off on his phone, so they can't find him.
I think part of the reason they found him is because he tried to kill one of the detectives or cops on the case, and the cop could blink Morse code. And he blinked some Morse code.
All these people who knows Morse code in these fucking TV shows.
It's these fucking Boy Scouts.
Literally,
they always blame it on the Boy Scouts.
I had a book when I was a kid that taught Morse code, and I just was like, nope, giving up right there. That looks a little too complicated.
The most I learned from Morse code was when I went to a Titanic museum.
Oh, okay.
And they had a little chart that had Morse code, and then one of the little Tappy Tap boys.
Ah, a little practice machine.
Oh, yeah. That was a super sick museum. If you ever go to, like, one of the Titanic museums that's shaped like the Titanic, I recommend it. Super rad. I had a little souvenir for the longest time. I don't know where it went. It was a little tiny ship in a bottle.
The
Titanic, biggest serial killer of all time.
Imagine there were serial killers on board.
Oh, yeah.
And they were trying to, like, kill someone, and then the ship's sinking, but before they finished, and they're both, like, evacuating at the same time.
Oh, shit. I feel like the Titanic wouldn't be a serial killer. I think that's more of a mass murderer. Huge difference.
They all chose to crash the ship. It was a mutual decision between all of the passengers.
It was one guy. You know, if the Titanic had just, like, hit the iceberg head on, they would have been alright.
It was designed to hit icebergs.
Head on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but they're, like... And granted, it's fucking 1912. Like, do you know how dark the middle of the ocean is at night?
Oh yeah, it's just dark completely.
Yeah, it's like being in space. You can't
A
see
lot of
shit.
people don't realize that. They're like, "How did they hit a giant
How
iceberg?"
do they not see the iceberg?
It's
Because
like,
they literally couldn't see it.
you
They-
don't see when they
Yeah.
don't have light.
That's why being a lookout was a position, but even then it was like a difficult position because you can't see fuck all. You can't see 10 feet in front of you. So they saw the iceberg pretty much at the last minute. Captain made the call to turn, and they scraped along the side, and that's where they sank. If they would have just like hit it, they would have been cool. They would have been fine. But I don't know. On a previous podcast, you can hear my thoughts on the Titanic. Get into it there.
The cults and serial killers episode.
Who's your favorite cult leader?
My
If you
favorite
can
cult
think of
leader?
one.
Yeah,
I don't know a lot about cults, so I don't even have an answer to that. So
I'm a enthusiast of myself, you know.
oh yeah, the King Cardin days.
Yeah,
The Major King Cardin.
yeah, mine's not going to be a cult though. It'll be a civilization.
Ah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But the second we start killing ourselves, we're gonna get labeled as a cult. So I guess I'll just go ahead and accept it. Now I try my hardest to keep my guys from killing themselves in a mass suicide. Really hard to keep people from doing that.
It's so hard to keep people from doing a mass suicide. It's a huge difficulty. Biggest issue certain groups have.
A lot of world leaders don't get the credit they deserve. Like, do you know how hard it is to keep your entire nation from killing themselves at the same time?
Very difficult.
Such a common thing.
Very difficult.
The
Do you have a serial killer that you find the most interesting?
most interesting serial killer. Honestly, I'm not really read up on many serial killers. That's one thing I've never really gotten into.
Huh?
Just fucking such a strange topic for me that I just avoid the
That's fair.
yeah, I've never been a fan of fucking weird shit.
I got really into serial killers when I was in high school, and I don't know what kind of kicked it off. Part of it might have been because, like, one of the girls that I liked was into serial killers, and part of it might have just been because...
You ever run into
It's
anybody that
interesting.
you think may have been a serial killer in your life? That's because
I've ran into some real fucking weirdos, but I don't think any serial killers.
it's just
I
crazy
hope,
to me
at
how much
least.
you see a lot of people that you'll never know what they do or who they are, you know, and the odds of them being something crazy is pretty likely that you've seen them and just never knew it. I feel like I'm just curious what the odds are that I've ran into like a fucking psychopath or serial killer or something like that.
I think without a doubt, we both have, and our listeners have ran into people that have killed other people. But there is a big difference between killing someone else and being a serial killer.
That is true. Yes, the serial killer subject or being specifically a serial killer is not too many of them. At least
Well, I mean, there are, but there aren't. So,
Public.
like, there's not a lot yet publicly that we know of. But what does the FBI say? That there's actively, like, 25 to 50 serial killers?
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the U.S.
And that's right now. That's at a time.
Which is crazy to think about. That there's, on average, one serial killer in each state active at a time.
Yeah. And most of them don't even kill, like, within their state or their area.
Makes sense.
They go out of their area. Because serial killers don't necessarily target, like, people that they know, people they work with. It's not a person-to-person thing. For them, it's not, oh, I don't like that person, I'm going to kill them. For them, it's, I want to kill, I'm going to try and find someone to kill as safely for me as possible.
Interesting thing to want. I could never get into the mind of a serial killer. The people that are like in the show Mindhunter, you know, people who are like in charge of talking to serial killers and reasoning with that type of a person. That's insane to me.
Even the show Hannibal, which is about Hannibal Lecter before he got caught, you know, based off the Thomas Harris novels. That's like a big part of the Will Graham character, the officer who finally catches Hannibal Lecter, is that he can't fucking deal with himself because he can get in the mind of serial killers. And he like fucking struggles with his own like personality because he can understand certain parts of them. Like it's got to be extremely difficult. And I think in one of the first podcasts I listened to when I was really getting into true crime, in the very beginning, several years ago, one of the hosts had said like, you cannot get into the mind of a serial killer. It's extremely difficult because they do not feel compassion or empathy or anything in the way that we do.
I think it's similar to like these some of the recent school shooters seem very similar mentally to someone who's like a serial killer.
Yeah.
Just going in there and just with no remorse killing everybody that they knew.
Yeah.
Like, or as many people as they can see. Fucking.
I think it's interesting you bring that up. Just last week, 2 weeks ago, I saw a photo pop up on my my Reddit feed of the Columbine guys. After they had to fucking off themselves in the library.
Yeah.
Like, just laying on the ground. You know, and and those are kind of like the standard, in a way, of school shootings. Like the staple, the ones that made it popular. Which is pretty fucking disgusting if you really think about it. But, like, those were the dudes. And it's just weird to see them, like, having killed themselves. And also, like, what was going through their minds. Did they feel remorse? Was the suicide part of being remorseful? Or was it from the plan at the beginning? Like, I don't know a lot about the situation.
To me, I feel like situations like that... because suicide itself is probably a pretty difficult thing to come to terms with. Like, if you're going to kill yourself and you're like, okay.
Like, physically, it's got to be. Like, there has to be so many physical stops.
To me, the murder-suicides is almost like something a mentally weaker person would do. Because they can't even kill themselves before they have, like, a good enough reason to. And they kill other people, so then they finally feel like they can kill themselves.
Yeah, double down on the reason.
They're like, okay, now I really need to kill myself. Now I don't have a choice.
Right. And I definitely see that, especially with, like, somebody who did some shit like Columbine. You go and you kill, like, a handful of people. Are you going to deal with those consequences, or are you just going to kill yourself? Like, of course I'm just going to kill myself.
Yeah, it's almost they're trying to give themselves a reason to kill themselves.
It goes, you know, in a way, it kind of ties back to the analogy of the railway. Like, if you stay alive, there's all of these reasons that are going to fuck you, all these things that are going to fuck you, or you take the other path, and you're not going to get fucked.
It's true. Yeah. The moral dilemmas. Oh, man. But I think I don't have anything else on the subject. You got anything else for serial killers or cults?
I have plenty of serial killer knowledge, which might be kind of weird that I do, but probably not, because, I mean, true crime is like the biggest podcast genre there is. So, like, it's not... I don't feel weird anymore for having serial killer knowledge.
No, it's definitely something that a lot of people are into as an entertainment.
Like, and I'm not even saying that's bullshit. It is, like, statistically the largest podcast genre.
Yeah. Which I feel like could be bad. Because a lot of people do things for attention, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And when there's so many people giving that genre attention... I feel like it's more likely to sort of bring about these bad actors.
I also think, in a way, it keeps people safe.
Giving them some sort of like an out to
gives
get
them
those weird...
Gives them an insight, it'll teach them certain things to do or not do to be preventative or, like, reactionary. Like, Crime Junkies is one that I listen to a lot, and their, like, big motto is, like, stay rude, stay safe, stay alive, or something to that effect.
That makes sense, though. That makes sense. The a lot of people fall victim to crazy people because they're just really nice.
Yeah.
And so they accept them into their
And
vicinity.
And that ties right back into BTK. BTK was very comforting, allowing, retying people's binds.
It's weird how
And they would feel comfortable. Like, okay, if I just appease to this person, then I'll be okay. And that's not the case.
yeah, it really is weird to me. Too, what's the serial killer that bunch of fucking shows were just made about good looking guy.
Oh,
Everybody liked him.
Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Zac Efron played him.
Yeah. It's crazy to me, just like based on personal appearance and how you act, and speak, how easy it is for people to just be okay with what you've done.
Ted Bundy was, like going through the court process of being charged with all these murders of young women, but he was a younger, handsome, well-spoken man, and he got married during that whole process.
If that doesn't prove that being good looking, it makes it easier for you to be successful.
Yeah.
Because I mean that's the thing. Like a lot of people are like curious about. They're like, "Oh, why are good looking people more successful on average?" And it's because it's just
You're more willing to
people are more
trust-
likely to work with you.
You're more willing to trust someone that's easy on the eyes
Makes sense.
because you'd rather be around them. And that probably goes back to some fucking ancient ass, like, need for reproduction, whether you're male or, like, female.
That makes sense too. Yeah, the
Shit's weird. The human brain is weird. I don't even think we fully understand it.
no, not even a little bit. I know we don't.
Yeah,
And
that was something I was thinking of earlier when I was doing some research into BTK, especially, is like, why do this like minority of people's brains kick off in this way to be so murderous? Like, how does that affect to any type of evolution or like protection of oneself or reproduction? Like, where does that tie in? Or is that just like a fucked up genome that didn't get bred out?
yeah, there's lots of missing links that people don't realize. So people are trying to figure out answers to things they don't have all of the fucking variables for yet. And so like what we think we know is just based on what we've already observed, but there's so much we haven't observed because we just don't know where to look yet. And that's the same in all aspects of whether it's science, engineering, or fucking medical field or anything. There's so little that we know compared to what we could know.
Right.
Now, we know a lot more than we've ever known before, but as always, as we progress as a fucking humanity, we're going to learn more and more and more and more. There's not going to be a point in which we're like, yep, we know everything.
And that's what the human testing's for.
Mm-hmm. That's why we're in this simulation.
Yeah, oh yeah. And the human testing's shitty. It's awful. Should it be done? Probably not.
That's the thing is like, do you want to know more or what do you value? Like
Starship Troopers, would you like to know more?
the red pill or the blue pill?
I mean, I'm super down on them using serial killers to test on, because fuck those guys.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like,
Test on criminals.
if you're gonna test on people, why test on these innocent people? Test on people that like, okay, if you're gonna be serving a prison sentence for life, at least like we could get some beneficial things.
But then
This person did horrible. They killed 37 people, but what we found out
Now,
testing on them saved 1,000.
imagine this, kind of what I was just talking about. Like, you test on a serial killer, and they have whatever fucked up gene. What if that is considered normal because they only tested on a serial killer?
That's true too, and that's an interesting thing. Some of the things that we know about advanced medical procedures are based on one or two very like off the wall experiments that doctors did once, like 100 years ago, and like who knows, like how are we to know like that's the
I think the biggest
average person.
the biggest like the most fortunate thing to regard that is that because it hasn't been proven so many times that things like that are called theories
Yes,
as opposed to like a fact.
now, and then I would say, like, even things that are like labeled as facts aren't always facts, because there's been sometimes
They can be
where-
disproven.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
It's just very rare.
and then also
Because they'll go through a theory like hundreds of times.
specifically medical and mental conditions.
Oh, yeah.
Like
So I wanted to talk about mental conditions on this actually, because earlier in an earlier podcast I had mentioned the MSV-5. That was totally wrong. It's called like the DSM. not
Okay.
The MSV. I just fucked up my acronym because I'm retarded. But the DSM is the book of mental conditions. But continue.
yeah, I was gonna say like so like when we're dealing with treating or working with people with what we label as mental conditions, like that's something that we've only barely scratched the surface on, because it's so hard for people to really grasp and understand, and not all of them are reflected in some sort of a chemical imbalance.
Yeah.
There's like sometimes no measurable difference between someone with a mental condition and someone who doesn't, other than their symptoms or how they act.
On the same note as that, I think we're over categorizing mental conditions. Mm-hmm. And to where every single, like, I think there's a difference between a mental condition and a personality trait. And I think that line is getting very, very blurred.
I concur. I think that a lot of, because, I mean, we don't realize what humans are naturally supposed to do, and as humans have progressed, we've changed what that is so much so. Like, the average way of life, like, we're barely outside, we're barely hunting or growing food or foraging.
And, like, from an evolutionary perspective, we're not very far away from when we were foraging and hunting.
Right. And so we've changed our entire lifestyle around without evolving in any way. So,
Yeah.
like, how that's affecting our mental
Or
psyche.
at least in very, very small ways.
Right. And so people are, like, labeling these people as, oh, no, this person has ADHD, this person has this or that or this or that. And it could just be a direct reflection on the type of lifestyle that they're
When
possibly
really,
normal and
they're
just not
going
able
from,
to.
like, a hunter wilderness mindset, like, from their own genetics into a sedimentary lifestyle.
Yeah, where you're in school fucking 8 hours a day, and do your job where you're 8 hours a day.
And maybe that's...
You come stare at a screen. You know how unnatural it is to stare at a screen? Now, that out of all things is the least natural thing that we do.
And that's something I've been thinking about a lot lately.
Phones and TV, and it takes up 80% of our day.
And I'm real big on media. I'm real big on movies. I love that shit. But even myself has been thinking, like, what is this doing for me?
Right, and a lot of it, because it's so fictional, our subconscious brain doesn't know that.
Yeah.
And so we're observing all these films and stuff, and we're taking it in, sometimes even consciously. And we're basing that on the decisions we make on life and how we interact with people because of a fictional adaptation of something that someone else made up. And we're like, no, this is what we base our decision making off of. So even on a conscious aspect, it's like, okay, that's kind of wishy-washy.
Here's a thought. You know, I like in the Percy Jackson books about the children who are the children of the Greek gods.
Yep.
They say that, like, the ADHD is the warrior mentality.
I do remember that. Yeah, I read those books back in middle school.
Oh, I read them in middle school too. I still enjoy them a lot.
Oh, okay.
But imagine, like, you know, the serial killer gene. And this is just me spitballing. I'm not trying to justify serial killers at all.
Right.
But obviously they're fucking shitbirds. And should probably be put to death, in my personal opinion. Like, what if that is, like, a hunter mentality that's repressed because of modern society? Huge stretch, but an idea. I'm not trying to, like, justify or start an argument. That was just
there's a lot of things.
Thought that I had.
There's some things that are harder for people to find out because they don't want the people to look at them the wrong way or think about them the wrong way. So there's like, okay, serial killers, we know they're all bad. Right? So there's no point in looking into it and trying to prove them right, because then people are going to think that we're crazy or bad ourselves, and so it's just avoided. Yeah. It's just not all aspects of investigation are always looked into when researching topics of this nature.
Right.
Because when there's sort of like a universal agreement on what something is, even if it's been proven scientifically or not, everybody's like, well, socially it's been proven.
Yeah.
Like we all agree,
Everything,
whether or not it makes sense scientifically, that these people are bad and deserve punishment.
It's all being looked at through a very, very modern lens. And like for our society, it's correct.
And honestly, like, yeah, for me too, I agree with that. If every single person's on the same page with something,
Yeah.
then whether or not it makes sense
Like,
scientifically,
if
I
you-
think that makes sense.
If you're running around and choking out random women that you find hot because, you know, you're the BTK killer, yeah, we should probably put you away.
That's why
you're
we,
a huge piece of
that's
shit.
why we don't use like fucking algorithms to decide who the president is. We vote for them.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. So, you know, I mean, and, you know, we're not fucking geniuses. We're not political scientists. We're not murder experts. We don't work for the FBI. We're just two guys talking. But yeah, you know, for the most part, I'm not saying the general public is right, but there is a good sense there.
Something to ponder.
Something to ponder, and I think it's a really good spot to end this.
I agree.
As always, listeners, if you've made it to this point,
Thank you for listening.
and please give us some ideas of what you would like to hear next. If you want to hear us go more in depth,
If this is any consolation of how serious we mean by that, this episode was built upon the comment of one of our viewers from last episode.
yeah. So we really appreciate everyone that listens. Recommend us to your friends. The more listeners that we have, the more in depth we'll go on things that you guys want us to. The more we'll respond, get into it. Help us, help you, help us. You know what I mean?
Deep, beautiful. Thanks for
Beautiful.
listening. Bing bong.
Fuck your life. Oh, I gotta pee so bad.